Are you ready? Stand by.
Hey there, I'm Dave Hartman, and welcome to the 3-Gun Show, the premier 3-Gun podcast. This episode is a match recon episode of the 2017 Hard as Hell Multigun with our buddy Adam Maxwell. The good folks that support the 3-Gun Show on a monthly basis on Patreon have already heard this one when we published it live. Not really live. When we published it pre-recorded. How about that? And I'll be publishing the recon of the 2018 match in a couple weeks. This was a great match in 2018. I didn't go to the 17, so Amax told me all about it, but 18 was awesome. And you're going to hear all about it in an upcoming episode, and you don't want to miss it. So if you're into this type of content, consider supporting the 3-Gun Show on Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can get access to match recon podcasts like this, and as quick as we publish them. Just visit patreon.com/3gunshow. That's Patreon. And tell a friend about the podcast. Let's help spread this thing. Let's grow this thing in 2019. I keep hearing from people in the industry that 3-Gun is not as big as it used to be, but I look around at all these matches and all these matches filling up this year, and I just don't see it. I meet new people everywhere I go. So share the 3-Gun Show with a friend that can enjoy this type of content. Get the message out there, and let's grow this community. Welcome to the 3-Gun Show. I'm your host, Dave Hartman, and this is a special match recon podcast of the Purgatory Flats Hard as Hell Multigun with special field correspondent Adam Maxwell. Adam, how are you?
Everything hurts, David. Everything, everywhere. Oh my God, what a match! Really good.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to get in here. And if you like the Match Recon podcast and want to get them as soon as they're available, be sure to sign up for Patreon as a supporter of the 3-Gun Show. You can find details at patreon.com/3gunshow. That's Patreon. And if you're listening to this real time, that means you are a supporter of the 3-Gun Show on Patreon. Jeez, words hard for me to pronounce today.
And we love you.
And we love you. And we totally love you. So this, Adam, is the first episode that you and I are recording and I'm in the new 3-Gun Show World Headquarters in Lakewood, Colorado.
Boom.
And I'm pretty pumped about that. And I'm only able to do it because of the support of the patrons. So I totally appreciate you. Thank you for, believing in the show and enjoying this content and supporting good content. Got more cool stuff coming because of what you're able to allow me to do here. And for everyone else, be a part of what we're doing. It's fun stuff. And we got a cool Facebook group on the Facebooks, and it's kind of like a little sanctuary. We let our hair down a little bit. Also, be sure to listen after the show for a special offer from Armalite, and enjoy this one with our buddy Adam Maxwell. Adam, got a couple things to tell you, bud.
Real talk.
We both have real talk here.
Does 3-Gun Show World Headquarters have one of those big satellite dishes like in GoldenEye on the roof?
Yes, it does.
Sweet.
I think it's non-functional, but it's been up there since 1986.
It was just for the cable TV.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a few pictures and post them on the Facebook group. So far I've only shown, or on the Facebook page, so far I've only shown this to patrons, right? But I got a cool monitor where eventually once I get all the gear set up and everything, Adam, you and I are going to be doing these with video incorporated as well. So you're going to have to comb your hair.
Ooh.
I know.
Kind of, that might be a deal breaker.
You're quitting. And we're going to add a little bit of video for the Facebook and for the YouTube and all that stuff. Cause right now This is kind of like an audio-only thing, and we're adding just a little bit of a video component as well, so people can see like gestures and emotions and stuff, which is kind of fun. Off of that big monitor, I've got the webcam I was telling you about on my Vortex tripod. Got all the recording equipment set up on this nice big table. I have 4 chairs around this table for guests.
Wow.
So next time you're in Denver, come on by.
So with the webcam, can you see me land on the helipad and then come right into the studio?
Those are on the security monitors.
Right. Yes.
Off to my right, I have a beverage refrigerator, so I'll get you some cherry cola for when you come by.
Oh, you know what I need.
I know what you need. And then in front of me is like a workbench, and I'm getting a sweet vise for that thing. Eric at Obsidian Arms sent me like an Armorer's Punch set. And
what's up, Eric?
Yeah, what up, Eric? Thank you, buddy. And going to be doing install videos, reviews, things like that, and also some other fun stuff. I got some big plans, man. It's gonna be exciting.
I'm excited for you, dude. I know it was a big step for you, and everything's moving up. So
yeah, man, constantly moving forward. Just doing a little bit of a pivot for what I've been doing with the 3 Gun Show, and I'm pumped, dude. It's gonna be exciting.
So you're gonna do like a Cribs episode for the Patreon members?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I should just Facebook Live a little Cribs episode, right?
Put that on the list.
Okay, well, unfortunately, the list is out of arm's reach right now. So you'll have to remind me.
I'm sure I won't let you forget. So
right. Well, dude, I got a couple other things to tell you about before we get started here, but these both relate to the match that you shot.
Okay.
So, Purgatory Flats Hard as Hell Multigun, right? Mm-hmm. The word is out on the match Recon, right? People know that this is coming. People know that Adam's going to be there and he's doing the match Recon, right? So,
I was actually asked by a few people if I was going to do it. So
yes,
of course, DJ.
Yeah, there we go. That's one of them.
DJ's in the shotgun pit. He can like hardly contain himself.
He's so
waiting
excited
for this thing to come out.
I think DJ is your biggest fan.
You know what? It's kind of weird, and probably need a bodyguard or two when we're going to be in the same state, just to make sure everything stays professional.
Yeah. So DJ calls me this morning, like when I'm getting stuff ready to head out to the office here, and I pick it up and I was like, "You can't tell me anything about Hard as Hell." Like that's how I answered the phone. And so he's like, well, why? And we start getting into it. I'm like, dude, you can't ruin me, man. I gotta have like a full on reaction to Adam here.
It's my shoujo.
Yep. So I allowed him to tell me only about ROing stuff, and then he told one little exciting story about you that you couldn't have known.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we'll get into that once we get into that particular stage. And the second thing I have to tell you is our buddy Sean Burrows text messaged me this morning. He's like, "Hey, man, got some stuff I want to."
SGB.
Yeah. SGB.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Sean Go Boom. Oh, I got you.
Sean Go Boom.
That's right. Sean Go Boom on Instagram. So he's like, "I got some stuff I want to tell you about Hard as Hell before you talk to Adam." I'm like, "No, bro, I can't do it."
That's how this works.
Yeah. And I was like, "Well, you can tell me about anything that didn't happen at the match." So I get on the phone talking with him. And then after probably like 20 minutes of BS, and I realize he's in the middle of telling me a story about one of your stage runs.
Oh, yes.
And I
know the one.
I was like, "Sean, you can't tell me this, man." And he's like, "Oh, my bad. Well, I might as well finish."
We have rules.
I know. So for folks listening, like Adam and I coordinate with the match Recon spreadsheet. We kind of have like a little bit of back and forth, but we don't actually discuss the match until we're on the mics here, and that's for purpose, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I literally just came straight back from the airport. I brought my guns inside so that the hooligans don't take them out of my garage. And I get on Skype to talk to Dave. Like,
yeah, You've been
literally
home,
as fresh as we can do it. That's when we like to do it.
You've been home
so I can remember all the
for,
funny stories.
exactly. That's the way to do it. You've been home for about 55 minutes now, according to the text that you sent me, and we've been on this call for 23.
Yes.
That tells people how fresh this is.
Yes. Farm fresh.
Farm fresh. Well, right on, man. Let's not hold back here. Let's get into this.
Jumping right in.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the 2017 Purgatory Flats Hard as Hell. Is it 3-gun or multi-gun championship presented by Seekins Precision. Shout out to Glenn and Katie Seekins. They've been title sponsor of this match for as long as it's been running. I believe this is the fourth one. Fourth one.
I want to say I shot the third one, which was last year. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. So I think the second one was the one that Travis Gibson made that huge GoPro video of. That's like a real endurance test just to watch.
And the first one was the snowy one.
That was the snowstorm one.
Yeah, that was the one I was like, well, cool. I'm glad I'm not at that thing.
Yeah, and then Travis put out the video for the second one, and that's the one where people like me saw it and was like, and then the third one, that's when we all came out last year.
Yep.
We had a ball, and then like all of Team Vortex was like, this is must attend for all of our cool peeps. So we're all super. It's one of the matches, like behind the scenes, it's one of the matches that we talk about all year long between Tarrant and Peterson and Vogel and Ruben and all of us and Sean. We look forward all year to coming out to this match. So
I totally forgot until you just mentioned that last year was the year that so you and I shot nationals together, and this is like a month or a month and a half after nationals last year. Yeah. And I saw you on the range, and I was like, hey man, my rangefinder's busted. Can I borrow yours? And you're like, ask that guy. And it was Ruben.
Yeah.
And
then I was like, then you showed me how to repost things, how to use the reposted app.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, weird. Yeah, so that was like the start of the love affair. It was the first time like you and I had really chatted, because nationals was just kind of like a weird funk because of the hurricane. Yeah. And then
it was weird.
I got to look at some prototype Vortex stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. And
we were launching. That was our pre-shot show leak of it was planned, but Ruben and I were allowed to take the two first pre-production samples of the Viper PST Gen 2 1-6.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the first ones that were allowed out into the wild to kind of start letting pictures flow out onto the social media. So that was really cool to be a part of too. That was the first time we got to use those.
That was cool, and got one on my rifle that's actually sitting next to me right now. My little shorty.
It's been a really good scope. It's a lot of bang for the buck, and we sell them faster than we can make them. There's a lot of them going out the door. So
yeah, it's pretty incredible the price point for clarity. Like, I had let's see, the first Vortex I looked through was the Razor HD 1-6 with the JM reticle, and Doug Johnson showed me that at, was it like 2015 Noveski match? That was like the first time I saw one. I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. And looking through that Viper PST, I didn't feel like a whole lot was lost for almost half the cost.
Yeah. I mean, it's I say even before I had a desk at headquarters, like it's 70 to 80% of a Razor when I was a frontline retail salesperson. Like, that's really, I mean, and I still have the one that we shot last year, and cool. It's pretty close. If you take the Pepsi Challenge and you look at them side by side, you can tell the difference, but it's really close. And for the beginner or intermediate shooter, or the person who's maybe shooting it on the enthusiast level that doesn't spend a whole lot of time behind their scope. Like if you're spending Josh Freilich amount of time behind your scope, you're definitely going to appreciate the difference because you're spending a lot of time looking through it. But if it's not an every week or an every other day kind of thing for you, man, it's a lot of value for what you're paying. And you're not missing out on a whole lot because it's a big jump in price to go that next level, and that's kind of a theme throughout all of optics. To jump levels in spotting scopes, it's the same thing. It's like it's a lot more coin for just a little bit more clarity, but sometimes the clarity is value, and that's something that the customer has to decide. But we're really all about giving you the best image we can for a given price point, and that particular scope came in at a really good price point. So we've been really excited about it thus far.
I love this thing. The only problem I've had is that I've left the illumination on almost every time I turn it on, and so
that is not recommended.
So I go through those little 2032s a lot. I just forget about it, but. Yeah, anyway, so that was kind of a sidetrack there, but that was just a little walk down memory lane of like my first experience with Hard as Hell.
Yeah, we all just had such a good time last year, and with the discontinuation of the Iron Man, it was kind of like, this is my new jam. Like this is currently my favorite match of the year. It is as close to the perfect event that I would, in my mind's eye, what I'm looking for that actually exists.
Nice.
This is my favorite one. So
yeah. So speaking of Iron Man, so that was the one of the reasons that I got into 3-gun was seeing a GoPro footage of an Iron Man, and yeah, I mean, like that's it. Like I want to do stuff that I can't do in a practice session, and you can't do a lot of the stuff you're about to tell us about in a practice session.
Right. I mean, this is as close to some of the video game stuff as you can get, I mean, like there just aren't very many places where you can shoot in a trench.
Yep.
And they dig a new one out every year. It's not the same trench as last year. They fill it in and they dig out a new one.
Yeah.
So there's just not a whole lot of places you can do some of this stuff at this level, so it's just super cool. It's a lot of travel to get there. People come from all across the country. The Bryans were there. They came from Kentucky, and who else do I know that traveled a long ways? I mean, some of the Texas guys were there.
Dave Horn from Alabama.
Yeah, yep. And
Bruce
wherever
Davidson,
Dave
also
Horn
Kentucky.
is, the Harrises can't be too far away. I can't remember seeing them specifically, but
I don't think they went this year, but they were there last year, and they're from Georgia, so it doesn't get much farther across the continent than that.
Right. So it's a long way to go, but I mean it's totally worth the trip. And you either fly into Vegas and drive up for I think an hour, maybe 2 hours, or we flew into Salt Lake to do some social media stuff and drove down from Salt Lake. So, excuse me. So it's really easy to access. There's lots of good accommodations and things like that. We can get into all that later, but yeah. I really like this match, and I'm really glad that all the people involved really put it on because it's a big undertaking to do it. So
yeah, well, we got sidetracked on like the very second thing. So this was December 2nd and 3rd at the Southern Utah Practical Shooters / Tactical Performance Center in St. George, Utah.
St. George. Yes. December 2nd and 3rd. It was time plus points match.
Mm-hmm.
Hard as Hell has its own rule set. It's pretty much do what you want, don't hurt anybody. I guess one of the unique rules that kind of came up in some of the chats going on. I don't know if probably not a whole lot of your listeners are in the PWS owners forum, but
I am not.
I'm pro staff for PWS, and Freddie Ruiz and Chad Timney and I are in there kind of talking about PWS stuff, so we're posting pictures in there. And someone asked about some of the different rifles we used. This match, you can actually swap out gear. That's kind of a unique thing to their rule set. Most matches, you have to start with one shotgun, one rifle, one pistol, and you cannot change configuration throughout.
Right.
At this match, they allow you to switch guns as long as you are still within the boundaries of the division that you declared. So you can have one set up for long range. You can have an SBR for the shoot house. You can have a 9mm for most of the match and shoot a 40 when there's a spinner. You can swap out for PCC. You can all that stuff. They don't, as long as you're staying within the guardrails of your division, you can swap. Equipment however you would like. So that kind of adds a unique aspect of it too. I was shooting limited, but in the course of shooting limited, I guess I technically shot 3 different rifles.
Oh, you're kidding.
So nope, not at all.
Well,
because I have. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you mentioned PCC. So there are divisions where you can substitute a PCC for like a single gun, right? And
at this match, it must be a rifle.
It must be a rifle. Okay, good. That's a good clarification.
Off episode was it 161?
Something like that.
Yeah. Here you can swap for a PCC at your own discretion, but it is your rifle. So there's a lot of pre-match chatter about that. Like, oh man, we should bring a PCC. And of course, I texted Sean and was like, hey man, so you're bringing your MP5, right? And so we were ready for it, but at the same time, like if it's a rifle, you can't really shoot any pistol targets then. So like there's no steel that you could shoot with a rifle that you couldn't, or with a PCC that you couldn't shoot with a rifle. So a lot of the advantage, I think, of using a PCC was negated.
So last year it was like the shoot house.
There were a couple guys who were using them.
Like last year was a shoot house. So you could shoot let's see, it was a rifle only, and I want to say it was like 52 rounds or something like that. So there were some people that substituted PCC in that because it was only paper targets.
Yep. That's true. And like some guys on our squad, Max, I'm going to butcher your name because I've never actually seen it spelled out, but it's Max Leograndes.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, the bump fire guy, he was in there, and he shot his PCC a lot throughout this whole match. And then another guy on our squad uses PCC as well. And he actually, that other guy, I think it was Chris. Was it Chris Pratt? I want to say
Casey.
Casey, yes. He actually got bumped to open because he was going Josh Freilich on and had 2 dots on his PCC.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So so he got a free trip to open, but his knees kind of put a damper on his match performance anyway. He kind of got a boo on the second day that kind of had him hobbling along.
Casey's a cool dude, man.
He is.
I took the TPC class with him, the TPC Multigun class with him a couple years ago, and I like that dude. He's got a great attitude.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I say though, I mean, that's one of the unique things about this match. It's kind of like buck up, buttercup, and you can shoot whatever you want as long as it fits within the rules. So yeah, I had my typical 14-inch gun with a Spitfire on it for the known long range stuff that I had to do. I was shooting my 111 short barrel rifle as much as I could because it's my favorite. And actually, for one stage, there's always a stage where you have to wear a plate carrier.
Yeah.
So for that stage, I borrowed a lower from Freddie that had a carbine stock on it, so I could run the stock really short.
Oh.
And so it would be the same length of pull that I was used to. So technically, I shot 3 different configurations of rifle to get through the match.
Huh. Now, I kind of like that. I mean, that means you got to travel with a ton more stuff, but it's pretty cool to be able to use the AR platform to its like fullest extent, right?
Yeah, and this is a toy box match, right? So it's like we're out here to roll around the dirt and play with our guns, and so you can play with whatever guns you want. And so that's one of the things that I kind of like about this match. Somehow I flew with 3 long guns and a pistol and didn't get a baggage fee. Not quite sure how I pulled that off, but it was pretty awesome. But
That's great.
yeah, no, it's a lot of stuff to bring, but it's, man, you get to play with all your toys if you want to bring them, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and so the match is obviously on Practice Score because this is where Practice Score was born in St. George,
Yeah.
Utah.
It is.
Schedule?
It is a on-off schedule throughout the day. So you go in kind of it's like 2-hour segments or hour and a half segments. But yeah, you're on and off throughout the whole match.
And it's a 3-day match.
What's that?
And it's a 3-day match.
Yes, 3-day match. So one day you bang out 4 stages, and the other days you have 3.
And the match
what
fee?
else do we have? The match fee was $200.
Okay.
I just had to wake up my screen again here.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, $200 match. And then we get into the division winners.
Yeah, so let's talk about number of shooters real quick. So I looked these up before while you were fighting Madison traffic, and
yes.
If you add up the people in each division, according to Practice Score, it's 310. But if you just scroll through the overall rankings, it's 246 total, with 243 that completed the match.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know the discrepancy there, and I didn't spend a whole bunch of time trying to figure that one out, but there was that.
I'm sure DJ will tell us in the comments. But what I think is interesting, we've talked a lot about rules lately. In 3-Gun, adding rules, taking rules away, PCC rules, blah, blah, blah. You'll notice there were about approximately 250 people at this match, right?
Mm-hmm.
This off-the-wall, very minimal guardrails match. There's 3 DQs.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So, and hey, nobody got hurt with a gun anyway. But
And,
plenty. I think we're all a little bit sore, but
well, I saw Tennille Chidester actually broke her hand.
Yeah.
And she said that it was after she dumped her shotgun, she blah, 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 and then she kind of went a little vague. I'm guessing maybe she ate it or something?
I don't know.
So
maybe Eric just said something mean to her, and she
sucked
had
him.
to remind him who was boss or
There
something.
you go.
I don't know.
There you go. All right, so what divisions were recognized at the match?
Okay, so at this match, obviously there's TO. So that's the main draw for everybody.
206 shooters in TAC Ops.
Yeah. The pool is as deep as it is wide in that division.
Yep.
And it was a brawl for first. There were a lot of really good shooters going after it, and we were really lucky that we were right behind our squad. We had some good shooters on our squad. I mean, we had Josh Tarrant and Josh Wakamatsu, Andy Peterson, and then we were right behind the squad that had the Yakleys and the Marine shooting team. I'm sorry, I don't know your names, guys. And then Joel Turner was there.
Mm-hmm.
So we were watching some pretty good talent take down this match, and it was definitely tight going into the end. So Tim Yakley ended up pulling out the win with Joel Turner right behind him, and then I think Jake DeKosick was not too far behind him as well.
Yep.
And then
we've kind of been doing percentages here. So Tim obviously gets 100%. Joel Turner 93.75, and then Jake with 84.75.
Yep, and normally I would call that a big spread, but at the same time, these are 10 monster stages. So the way kind of some of the points and some of the obstacles worked out, that's not a big spread, because some of the penalties for some of the things here would split you up pretty far.
Yeah.
We can even get into that a little bit here in limited. Like if we look at limited, Brian Vaught won, which kudos to him.
Yep.
Wes Powell,
Colorado boy.
pulled out second at, I believe, 98% going off of memory. And then I was third at 95%. And I forget the name of who was behind me, but he was at 94%.
Chris Scott. Yeah, so let's see. Brian obviously 100%. Wes Powell, again, Colorado boy who I've known Wes like a long time, and Wes is really coming on. It's been pretty exciting. We need to teach Wes to run, though, is the running joke here in Colorado. 98.
So we're just
Go ahead.
The patrons just going to go together and get him a speed ladder for Christmas.
Yes.
Send it to him.
Yes. That would actually be really good. Actually, damn it, I'm going to do that. Might have to delete that part so he doesn't get it spoiled for him. All right. So yeah, Wes at 98.47. Adam Maxwell 95.05. Chris Scott nipping at your heels 94.83%.
And like you can analyze it to death. I basically figure I lost this match in 3 spinners.
Oh, really?
Yep. So if you don't spin a spinner, that's 60 seconds.
Damn.
At this match, 60 seconds and penalties. And we can go into some of the stages later, but like there was a rifle spinner on the big rifle stage. I didn't get it. I don't know that nobody got it in our division that I know of. I was just stupid enough to stay there and try to get it.
What was the distance?
At 200 yards.
Oh.
I timed out on the big pistol stage, pistol as hell, and I had it. I needed 1 more second and 2 shots, and I would have had it spun. I timed out, so I timed out with a 60-second penalty, and then buckshot spinner and DJ's stage. I don't know what happened. That buckshot, just the point of impact on that buckshot was just not what I expected, and I was not getting very many pellets on that spinner. And so I left a spinner on that stage. So 3 spinners, that's 180 seconds in penalties. That's a big swing.
Yeah, because
in a match.
So Vaught had 135 seconds of penalties, and you had 240.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a huge swing.
Yeah. So when we look at some of the percentages, normally what I would call a pretty decisive victory, it's like, yeah, man, you might have just eked it out at this match because you got a lot of ground to cover and a lot of targets to shoot. So but we can get more into that later.
Yeah.
In open division, I don't really know any of these guys, so I'm not sure just how crazy open division was.
I don't start knowing anyone until fourth place here. So this is some people here that I'm looking forward to getting to know next year when I shoot a lot of Western matches.
Right. We got Jonathan Rickard.
Yep.
In first. We got Chris Taylor in second. And you're looking at the stats.
So we got 100%, 96.7%.
And
third place.
Was it Jeng Nai?
Yeah. Gengie. Gang Nai. 96.47%. So that was close.
Mm-hmm.
And then our buddy Sky Killian coming in at fourth at 96.05%. So that was a really close battle for second there.
Yeah.
Second, third, fourth.
And I believe Sky is a lady, so
yes.
Look out, guys. There is a new sheriff in town in open division. And then, of course, at this match, there's also the Ever Western Trooper division.
Are there any Trooper thingies back east?
I'm trying to get it going. No, back east here, we're just a bunch of McDonald eating, pickup truck shooting dudes. So nobody gets off on that stuff.
Well, I'm really pumped about the results of this division here. First of all, more people
did it myself.
More people in Trooper than Limited.
Right?
32 versus 29. 43 in open, by the way.
Yeah. And man, limited was the smallest division. We still had 20 people.
Yeah.
Which is great, which
yeah.
is awesome because normally, I mean, some matches that I've gone to, some matches that I've won, it's like, yeah, I won, but it's super small division,
Mm-hmm.
Trooper division, those guys are hardcore. And this match is just off the wall enough that I was like, man, maybe I should just try that. Because I kind of wanted to shoot a PCC or something like that. And I have this Eberly stock backpack that I bought for Trekker. So like, man, maybe I should get this thing a little bit more scuffed up.
Yeah, you should definitely do that next year for sure.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see just how crazy I get once I'm a year older. But Trooper Division, it's kind of its own deal. And for those who don't know, Trooper Division, they basically have their own parking lot, which you can imagine is further away than all the other parking lots.
It's out on the county road.
Yeah, it's out on the road. They got to hike in. What would you say it is, like half a mile? Like where the bays are?
I'd say to the bays, it's probably maybe exactly a mile. Or do you think am I getting too crazy on that?
It's something like that.
Yeah.
So they have to park out there. They have to carry it. It's basically if you carry it, you can use it division.
Mm-hmm.
So
is there like you can't set stuff down kind of thing?
I'm not quite sure how that works, but they do have to carry it around, and it's a lot of stuff to carry around all day.
Brian said no wheels.
No wheels.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you can't have a cart or anything like that.
Yeah, so you can drag stuff, but you just can't have wheels.
Yep. And I think there might even be something like they have to carry like a gallon of water and something else.
Yeah, I mean it's like anything you need all day. Like you're not allowed to visit. If I'm not mistaken, you're not allowed to visit the vendors.
That might be true.
That
might be true. I didn't think about it enough that I actually looked at the rules. But
Gotcha.
basically, if you're trying to picture it, the guy's got all the 3-gun shit, and they're carrying it all around.
Right.
And then they even stepped it up one level this year, and there was actually an armored trooper division where you had to wear plates. You had to wear rifle plates the whole time.
Yep.
So it's the glutton for punishment division. And and then so in that division we had Greg Severson won it.
Yeah. He was also in the TPC class I took. He's a cool dude. He was in the 3 Nation Pro Series for 2015 or 16?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's 15.
Yep. And then, of course, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Roth in second.
I gotta say, I was
firmly solidifying that, yes, in fact, he is crazy.
This is true. I was so surprised to see Mark Roth in Trooper, by the way. So if you don't know Mark Roth, Mark is very intense, and I've never had a conversation with Mark where he was not holding a gun or a cigarette, and sometimes both.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that is not what you picture for Trooper Division, someone who's a smoker, right? But in my mind, I'm imagining him carrying all his crap, smoking away.
Yep. And he probably decided he was doing it on Wednesday before he left.
Because that's how Mark works. Yeah, totally. Oh, you know what? It was probably because
that had the little connection. It's like, oh, I should shoot Trooper Division.
I bet it's because that new Voodoo tactical bag that he designed that you can carry all your 3-gun shit in, and he's like, well, I got to put my money where my mouth is.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's been around long enough that I think he's just kind of bored shooting open.
That makes sense.
So he's just trying some other stuff. I know he said, he was shooting. He's been joking around here locally. He's shooting open limited. So he doesn't have a magnified optic on his rifle. He's just shooting a red dot on his rifle with a bipod. And yep. And of course he's still shooting an X-Rail shotgun, but I'm not sure he even has a dot on that. And he didn't want to get used to an iron-sighted pistol, so he's still shooting an open pistol. But he's kind of just kind of doing his own thing, just because he's been around long enough and he doesn't care.
Yeah,
He's just kind of playing with some toys and coming up with some new and crazy ideas for I'm sure some of it's product development for stuff he wants to bring to market.
And I really
this is kind of like the latest of his quest to do something a little bit different and spice up his 3-gun.
Which is cool, man. Like, you got to admire that,
totally
right?
Cool.
Like, he's just going out and having fun and doing what he wants to do rather than just, I mean, it's cool to win a match. It's cool to place first, blah, blah, blah. But going out and having fun, you will find much more, like, intrinsic value in everything you do if you're having a good time. Right.
And that's definitely what's going on at this match. Everybody's just having a good time.
Hell yeah.
I think I don't know anybody that was well, that's not true. I was gonna say I don't know anybody that was taking it seriously to the point of not having fun. But AP gets a little wound up about this one sometimes. So.
AP gets wound up about everything, but
that also is true.
Last year, Brian Ray said, this match is cool because if you look around, there's probably like 7 guys taking it real serious, and everyone else is having a great time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why at this point in the season, okay, it's the first weekend in December. Like, unless you've been living under a rock, all of us have been shooting a lot of 3-gun for the season. So it's kind of like, this is kind of like the last match. So you're either kind of like, oh, well, one more time before winter, or it's like, oh my God, this is my last match finally, or whatever your mojo is. But it's kind of like this end of the year, crazy party.
Yeah.
As far as 3-gun goes. So yeah, everybody's just there to have a good time. And if you start taking yourself too seriously and whining and complaining, they're just going to tell you, well, this is hard as hell, so deal with it. So you might as well just have fun.
Exactly. All right, so third place in Trooper Division here.
Third place in Trooper Division was Robert. Oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher your name.
That's why I let you have that one.
Thanks, buddy. Should I just say Cock-Air? So
I think it's Cock-Air. Is that right?
Cock-Air?
Yeah.
You just wanted me to say cock on the mic.
Coke-Air? Hey.
Coke-Air? Hey.
I don't know. But I also got to say, 4th and 5th, my more Colorado buddies of mine, Mike Griswold, Ben Walker, and that's cool to see those guys there as well.
Mm-hmm. What I don't see is Kurt Russell. Is it Kurt Russell?
Russell
K-Arms?
Russell Fagan?
Russell. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm sorry, Russell, but he invented Trooper Division,
yes.
And he was there, and he got an award, but I think he won Armored Trooper Division.
And he's in. Oh yeah, so he's number 8 in Trooper Division, and he is first Armored.
That might have been like a subclass or a subcategory.
Yeah, it's a category like law enforcement or senior.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Also,
this was the first time they did that too. It's like Trooper wasn't hard enough; they had to make it harder. So
they actually did Armored Trooper.
They wore more heavy stuff.
They actually did Armored Trooper at the Red October Kalashnikov Fest.
Which is, you know what? As time goes on, I'm thinking that's a match I have to try and go to.
Dude, you got that nice Dissident Arms AK. You got to get him out and run it.
I know. Like if Mike started building me a crink off right now, man, I might just get the stamp in time.
Yeah, no.
For next October. Just floating that out there, Mike. You got my number.
All right. So any other opportunities to shoot?
Any other opportunities to shoot? No. Which was unfortunate because last year there was a nighttime program where they did like kind of a 2-man shoot-off thing.
Yeah.
And it was arguably the most fun part of the match because there's a big bonfire and everyone all the cool people were hanging out and just shooting more guns. And I was all excited about it for this year. Tarrant and I were going to tear it up. And then, so I was asking, like, hey, I went up to Ken. I was like, hey, so they announced that they were going to have like this Dutch oven cook-off thing. And they said there would be like loud noises and explosions and stuff. I was like, oh, that must be it. So, but it didn't explicitly say 2-man shoot-off. So I asked Ken, I was like, hey, are you doing a shoot-off tonight at that thing? And he's like, no, unfortunately we can't because the neighbors complained about noise, so I can't really do that anymore.
Oh, my God.
And so I was like, ugh. I mean, I get it, but wow. Because that was really fun last year.
You know,
so
I have mixed feelings on this because, like, one, you moved right next to a shooting range. But
yes.
Two, when we were at the Red October Kalashnikov Festival, we got to stay at the TPC house, which was great, as their guest. And it's just right over that ridge from, like, whatever the 620-yard target was last year. If you would just kind of aimed up a little bit, that would be where the house is. Like, it's just over that ridge. And in the morning when you wake up, you can hear everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear all the morning stages going.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do not envy the political battle that is, I believe, ongoing.
Yeah.
For TPC and the SUPS.
Well, and they're actually moving the range.
Yeah, there was talk of that last season. Like last year was going to be the last year that they would be at this facility. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, they're still there. So I assume it's ongoing, and they're either the new facility's not ready yet, or there's something logistically in the way. But yeah. So on other opportunities, yeah, I was kind of bummed out that there wasn't a 2-man this year, because we like to party. So.
All right, man. So let's talk about the match flavor.
All right, match flavor. It's pretty simple. If you're gonna be dumb, you got to be tough. Like, that's pretty much what it is.
Johnny Cash match.
Yep. If you're gonna be dumb, you got to be tough. Like, they lay it out there for you, and you can pretty much do whatever you want. But like, if you're gonna do something stupid, then it's probably gonna hurt a little bit. So, what would be a good example? Like, I mean, it's meant, it's in the name. It's meant to be hard as hell. Mm-hmm. So it's 10 big stages with usually some sort of physical challenge involved. It either is covering a lot of ground, so you're going to have to do a lot of running. There's a lot of carrying heavy things. There's a lot of crawling through confined spaces. There's a climbing wall that you have to traverse at some point. There's mortars and flashbangs. There's supposed to be flashbangs, but some D-bag broke it, so the rest of us just got to throw a rock. But they had a mortar this year, so that was cool.
That's pretty sweet.
They had a shotgun blank basically rigged up on this pipe that you would drop down a mortar tube, and it would make a hella crazy noise and a big flash, and it was fun.
But it didn't actually launch anything, right?
It did not actually launch anything.
Okay.
It just made masculine noises. But so like that's kind of the deal, and pretty much anything, like if you're gonna complain, if you're looking for like competitive equity, as far as like calibrations on poppers, or like, well, can I cut this line, or can I do that, or can I do this? The answer is almost always going to be like, yeah, you can do that, but usually to get ahead, you have to do something that is going to either physically exert yourself, or it's gonna wear on you a little bit. Like, to go hard into the Cooper tunnel, I mean, it's a rock ground, with sharp things on it, I mean, it's gonna, if you don't have knee pads and elbow pads, it's gonna skin your knees.
Yep.
But if you want to get through there fast, that's what you're doing. you know. So it's the match flavor is really that kind of stuff. Like it's a lot of buck up buttercup type stuff.
Yeah. Well, and if you're used to the, the clinical, the competitive equity and stuff like that, some of this stuff you're going to think is bullshit, right? Like last year,
absolutely.
They had
Absolutely.
they had a dueling tree that you had to get over to one side, and every other shooter got screwed hard because they were shooting it uphill. Now, and I remember, complaining. What I thought was politely. I don't know how it was perceived on the other end, but complaining politely about it being set that way when I was shooting it and having to shoot like a ton. And they're like, "Well, you're shooting those powder puff loads." It's like, nah, bro, I got this off the shelf at Walmart. Like, this is the heavy stuff, and it's not moving those plates at all.
Yeah. So it's, if you're looking, this is not the canvas on which you are going to paint your execution of 3-gun masterpiece.
Right.
You're gonna bleed a little bit. It's he who bleeds the least is gonna come out on top.
And for the next 3 weeks, you'll be coughing up moon dust.
Yes, especially if you go roll over prone in the Cooper Tunnel like I did. That was a big cloud of dust. I had a fine coating of Utah inside my mouth when that was all done. I started shooting with my mouth open. That was a bad idea.
Yeah, I did that at Red October too. That's when I realized.
Now.
That's when I realized I shoot with my mouth open.
Yeah. Like maybe this wasn't such a hot idea after all.
Yeah. I've been trying to figure out how to close one eye while keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah, but it's big stages. It's big stages with big props, big obstacles, and usually a lot of targets too. I always think there could be more targets. I think there was a little bit less than there was last year, but at the same time, I still got through and I'm like, yeah, I got a sufficient amount of shooting done. But what really sets it apart is it's big stages with big physical challenges involved to get through them.
Mm-hmm. So this year, again, because some people called and told me things they weren't supposed to before I talked to you, part-times were a lot lower than they were last year, right?
Yes.
Which led to way more timing out than you would expect?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm not sure on this. I think enrollments were up from last year.
Sure looked like it.
So, having experience on the match director side of the house, that means it's got to flow faster. One of the ways you can get it to flow faster is cut the part times in half, or cut the part times down. 180 seconds is a pretty typical part time for any other match in the country.
But this is twice as much going on than every other match, right?
It is very short for this match. I timed out on one stage, which I haven't timed out on a stage in a long time. Not that I'm anything special, but so people at the more advanced levels are timing out. Mm-hmm. I think some stages had a timeout rate of above 70%.
So if we look at last year, 212 shooters. This year, 246.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
the word is out.
And so it kind of sucks because it's more popular now, so more people want to do it, which is awesome. But they cut the part times way down, so nobody wants to time out.
Right. Everybody wants to finish the match.
You come to shoot the big course. You want to shoot the big course. There's a gal on our squad who a lot of times she had to make a lot of choices. Like, am I going to do the thing, or am I going to skip it and try to I'll get more targets shot this way? And that shouldn't be. I think I'm not sure if it was Jeremy Moore who coined this, and maybe I just agree with him. But like when we were talking about running matches a couple years ago, he's like, I think 10% of people should time out on a big stage. Like of all the people shooting a match, like, yeah, you get those folks that they're just struggling and they're not going to stop until they've shot every round of ammunition that they brought, and they brought 3 AR mags. So they're just going to keep whacking away at that 400-yard target until they're out of ammo. It's like, okay, well, that guy's like, all right, I'm sorry, you're done. Like, better luck next time. But like, if more than 20 people time out on a stage, that's starting to be like inadequate stage design or poor stage planning in some regard. Something has gone off the rails there. If more than 20 people are timing out on a stage, that I think maybe they just bit off more than we could chew for one stage.
Right.
Is kind of what I'm thinking. And at this match, there was a lot of shenanigans type stuff that took a lot of time. There's one stage where you had to set up 12 poppers that were spread out in a bay.
On the clock?
On the clock. So that was the physical challenge. It was like you had to run around and set up these poppers. How fast were you going to run and all that stuff?
Well, and if you don't set them up slow enough, they fall back, right?
Well, that was kind of a thing too. That's kind of a buck up buttercup thing. Like they're set heavy enough. They had to set them heavy enough so that they would stay. But sometimes if you didn't hit them hard, they didn't fall over. So this is hard as hell. Was kind of the answer on some of that. But so that stage, in and of itself, would have been a good stage because there's like some shotgun stuff that you had to do. You had to run across the aisle and climb up this tower, shoot some rifle stuff and shoot some pistol stuff. If you didn't have to set up the poppers, that would still be a good stage, and 90% of the people would have finished it.
Right.
Or like the shoot house this year. The shoot house this year, well, it was, you've probably seen some of the video. Like, it was gutted out from what it was last year.
Well,
there wasn't a whole lot inside as far as walls and things like that.
Yeah. So one thing I'll say is from the video that I've seen is like the major structures of many of the stages were the same as they were at the Red October Kalashnikov Fest. So the shoot house was again empty at Red October. It did have fault lines inside, but there were no walls like there were last year.
Right. Which kind of the point of a shoot house is to have a shoot house. Like,
right.
That's kind of,
this is like shooting. Like, you're breaching a door going in a house, and then you're shooting everything outside the house.
Yeah. So I kind of wish there was something a little bit more elaborate in the shoot house. But the big thing on that stage, the great equalizer, was all of your ammo had to be in these pouches. And it had to be loosened in pouches, and the shotgun was the last thing you shot. So, after you've run around doing the pistol stuff, after you've done all the rifle stuff, after you have traversed the climbing wall, you have to hand load your shotgun out of these pouches with loose shells. And it's like, and that's where people time out, right? I got one in there backwards. So that's, I still finished it at like 170 seconds fighting through that malfunction, but like that was a monster stage, and it was a really good stage if we would have just been able to load off our caddies.
Right.
But then they added this hard as hell twist to it, and now it's a stage that everyone's timing out on. And so some of that stuff I would like to see, like let's get back closer to the shooting, and maybe tone back some of the shenanigans on the other hand. But at the same time, like, by contrast, we talked to Adam Reiser about some of this stuff. He thinks it's hilarious. He's like, oh my God, this is just the greatest thing ever. So maybe there's people out here who really, really love that stuff. I'm kind of like, you know what? It's like, I think people go along with it because they came to the match and was like, okay, well, this is what we're doing. But like, I don't think anybody's going to be bummed that, man, we didn't have a single stage where everyone had to load from not their caddies.
Yeah.
Show me the match where you don't have to load from those stupid caddies. That's the match that I want. I don't think anybody says that.
Well, I shot that Wyoming Governors match, and there was a stage where they made us load 5 9mm rounds into a pistol magazine and then exit an MRAP and then engage targets. And you did not use the magazine that you just loaded. So,
really?
Yeah. So we spent the night before loading 9mm magazines and seeing how fast we could do it. And we decided that it made more sense just to throw it on the ground, take the 5-second penalty, and move on than it did to load that thing. And so they were upset because we were gaming it. It's like, well, don't put something stupid in a stage that makes me game around it just to get away from the stupid thing that is there, you know?
Yep. And that's like, I mean, maybe we're even kind of skipping ahead a little bit here to skills utilized, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of some of the stuff. It's like, you know, why are we doing this? You know, because like I don't think anybody. I don't know that the masses on a whole are like, man, that's really fun. I'm glad we did that. I mean, they'll go along with it and they'll probably have fun along the way, but like that would still be a fun stage if we didn't do the thing. Yeah, you know.
Well, and
so like
it reminds
I
me,
get that it's a hard as hell challenge to make it hard for the sake of being hard. I get that. But I would still have fun. I would have more fun if we just did more shooting.
Yeah, see, I feel like the match should be hard, not the manipulation of a single shotgun shell on the clock, right? Like that.
Yeah, or a prop that's not yours, or any.
Yeah, like that's the kind of thing
that
you do at the end of the day of a practice session or screwing around with some friends, and maybe play horse or something like that. Who can
have hard as hell side stages?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the kind of thing that you would do just screwing around. And loading your shotgun from a satchel is something that you can do in a practice session or for funsies. And so that I don't think is part of what I would want to see in a stage.
So that's kind of on the list of things. Like if they're listening to this, I hope they get more towards the like, let's take away some of the props. Let's maybe put out some more targets, and let's because that's like the stages that we saw from that second Hard as Hell, that Travis Gibson video. Like that was a lot of shooting.
Yes,
and that's what initially attracted me to the match. It's like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of shooting. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and so matches ebb and flow as they try to find their style and their voice as time goes on, and I think that's part of what they're finding here. I mean, this was Brian Nelson's first year of being, I think, the match director. I mean, he's been heavily involved before, but his Ken, I believe, took a step back from some of it this year and gave more of it to Brian. So some of that's going on too. But like as they go forward, I would like to see him go a little bit back towards the. It's just super high round counts on monster stages, and that's why it's hard.
Yeah, and I think probably what you're saying here is like a match trying to catch its stride, right? Like we got it the first year. Well, what did we get?
Yep.
And then we got it the second year. Well, what did we get? And then you try to analyze that and do more of the thing you got. Well, what was the unique thing we did? Well, last year, 2016, we loaded from a ammo can. What if we made that a bag instead of a can? So I can totally understand that, and it's something I do with the show too. Not everyone likes match recon. I friggin' love match recon. There's people that listen only for the match recon. So I totally get it.
Yep. And then I guess what's some of the other, if we're gonna do skills utilized, some of the other stuff is. It's a little bit, this is a coaching match, so you have to plan a little bit, like if you can use that, what do you want? Do you want the peanut gallery saying absolutely everything? Do you want to tell the ROs to shut up? Do you want people to call corrections, or do you want them to call impacts? So some of that strategy has to go on. Because it is kind of a group effort.
And you need to have that conversation with your squad And if you've ever been to like a local match, the first stage is quiet, second stage is quiet, third stage is quiet. At the end of the day, you're like exchanging phone numbers and like, oh, let's come out here and do this again. And then same thing with like a major match, you know, you're quiet at the first day, you're feeling each other out, and by the end of the third day, it's like your best buddies. So you need to get over that at the beginning of a coaching match and get like a plan down, you know, because like guys like you and Terrence and Sean, you guys have that relationship where you're going to talk to each other beforehand. Ray and Vod are obviously the same way, but if you don't have that relationship with your squad, you need to establish that relationship soon.
And you know, sometimes like, if you're not on the same page, you can Blue Falcon your buddy, because like I did that to Josh. I was spotting for him on the all rifle stage, and he was trying to spin the spinner, which was a bonus, but like he'd been there for a long time and he hit the required target. So we were telling him to go, like go, and he's like sitting there trying to still spin the spinner and get the bonus. You know, so like, you know, some of that stuff is you know, a unique skill to these kinds of matches. Like, if you don't want people yelling at you, you need to tell them, because you know the ROs are going to talk to you unless you tell them to shut up. Yeah, and I do. Well, and last year, more politely than that, but
last year I asked an RO not to coach me. On my, I want to say that was maybe my last stage, but he did when I ran past a target, and I came back for the target and hit it. Obviously, it cost me like way less than 15 seconds that it would have cost me for passing it up. And so then as I'm running to the next bay, because this was like a multi-bay stage, I over my shoulder, I'm like, thank you. So,
yeah.
And it's kind of funny because like the whole time I'm thinking like, I don't want this guy to talk to me. Like, I don't want that guy in my head. I want to do my thing. And then he totally helped me out and saved me from a 15-second penalty.
Yep. Or you get people who are trying to help, but they're not paying attention. So they'll say stuff, or like some of us, we're trying to get content for our sponsors. You know, we're trying to get video. Well, we don't really want a bunch of coaching and peanut gallery stuff on our video when we're going to try and use it for corporate stuff.
I do.
You know? Well, I assure you that other brands don't. you know?
Oh, like, come on.
I know, but like it's stuff like that, you know. It's just like, you know, tomato, but like, you know, that's a dynamic of this match.
Right.
What else is there? As far as skills utilized stuff, I mean, there's going to be some long range. There was not as much long range as there was last year.
Well, hang on. Let's back up to terrain. Talk about the terrain a little bit. We said moon dust, but describe moon dust.
Yeah. So yeah, we've talked about the moon dust before. It's much like Parma, Idaho.
So this is kind of what you would consider moon dust, right? From Parma.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you load your mags in the hotel?
I sure do. There's a really hard pan. You know, for those of you in the soil sciences, there's a really hard pan of the ground. It's like a very hard clay, but the top layer, the really dry stuff that gets like pushed around and whatnot, that's a very fine powder. It's the consistency of like pancake mix, pretty much.
And it will get in your lungs and make you cough and make you think you have the flu.
It blows around. It gets in everything. It's no joke. I have some very dirty guns that need to get the full treatment right now to get it all out of there. So it's in, you know, this high desert. It's still, it's both. It is a bay match primarily, but there are a lot of terrain features. There is a gully run that's very much a natural terrain stage. You probably have to run, I would call it's at least 200, if not 300 yards to the end of it. That was an all shotgun stage this year, and it's not flat. But there's a lot of running from one pistol bay to the other pistol bay, running up over the berms, you know, in designated places where it's safe to do so. But yeah, you got to go up and over and down the other side, or you got to go round the outside or across the other side. I would say there's a lot of props. So there's a lot of like elevated platforms to climb on. There is a climbing wall. It's made out of plywood that you got to traverse. What would you say it is? Maybe like 30 feet across to get across that thing?
It's like 4x8 sheets of plywood. So 16 feet.
So there's that. They do always dig out a trench. So they get into one of their bays with a backhoe and they dig out a pretty elaborate trench.
This year's trench was insane.
Yeah.
Deep.
And it was awesome.
Couldn't see over it.
Yeah.
Or out of it.
It was so cool. There's a pretty good video of, I think Trent has it. There's like a hump that came up to this wall with a port in it that you had to shoot through.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to go back and forth a couple times. Well, when he was going across and he was running over that hump, he just like launched off of it and he like tried to jump over to the other side. But he caught too much air and he went all the way to the bottom. And he was not entirely sure he had the landing gear to stick that one.
Oh my god, I can't wait to see that video.
But it was straight up like freaking Mario. He was just like, whee! And he stuck it though. He stuck it, but on the video you could see like he jumped a lot higher than he thought he did. So that's there for terrain. There's a really big backdrop, and that is the berm. So they do put some longer range targets out there.
Yeah, so that's like a 200-foot ridge, something like that.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. What else is there? Yeah, there's usually like tunnels and culvert stuff you have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of culverts that you had to pull a sled through. Like you had to put your rifle in a cutout 55-gallon drum and then drag it through a piece of culvert pipe around the other side and go through a piece of culvert pipe. So there's a lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of hands and knees.
So
crawling around stuff.
They had themes to a lot of stage, and the one that you're describing was Black Hawk Down stage, right?
Yes, that was the theme of that stage. I know, like Benning. I think you just did a recon of Benning. I think they were all movie themed stages.
Yeah, I like themes for whatever reason, like that. You know, and I don't know if they need to be like all the theme, but just in my head, it's like, oh man, I'm in Jurassic Park right now. You know?
Yeah. To me, I'm kind of the opposite. I don't really get into the themes.
How dare you?
But I do appreciate the effort. Like, I mean, it did look like a Black Hawk helicopter. I don't know that it added a whole lot to the stage, but somebody put a lot of work into that, and it turned out pretty good.
Definitely.
So,
all right. So,
is there terrain wise?
I think we pretty well covered terrain. What else do you have as far as skills go?
Skills, I think. I'm just looking at your notes here. I mean, you're gonna have to load a lot of shells throughout this whole thing. They have. Well, I mean, we could go. Yeah, here's a good way. So we've talked before about the one gun only stages. This cancer that is infecting the sport, and it has a spread. It has spread. Last year, I don't know that there were any one gun only stages.
Didn't we have a rifle? Oh no, that was the shoot house that was attached to another stage.
Yeah.
Yep.
This year, there were 3 single gun stages. There was rifle as hell, there was pistol as hell, and there was gauge as hell. They were very well done for what they were, but I don't like them. I would rather have a multi-gun stage. I would rather use at least 2 guns than have one just huge monster 1-gun stage. So, I mean, we've talked about that at length before, but so I'm not really a fan of that trend. If I have to give up my shotgun-only jungle run to have 10 multi-gun stages, I will do that for you, 3-gun world.
So what about 2-gun? You okay with 2-gun?
I'm okay with 2 guns. Yeah,
okay.
Let's use 2 guns. But like just the one gun stage, I'm just not into it. It's just maybe it's just me, but I will say, so if we go through them all, Rifle as Hell was stage 1, and I'm gonna give Brian, if it was Brian's idea, but whoever came up with that Colt speed plate behind the spinner, you get gold medal for most creative target presentation of the year.
Okay, explain that one because I'm not following.
So they put a rifle spinner at 200 yards.
Okay.
MGM spinner, which is pretty hard. It's pretty hard in and of its own right. And they're like, all right, well, if you spin it, it's bonus. Okay. But so like the gamers out there are like, all right, I'm taking one shot at that stupid thing and I'm out. They put a mini auto popper Colt speed plate behind the bottom plate. That is a required target.
So you got to at least move it to get that Colt speed plate.
You at least have to push it out of the way to get the Colt speed plate. And if you do the extra and you get her spun over, that's 60 seconds, baby. I think it was very well done. I spent way too much time trying to shoot it with a limited gun. I thought I could do it. I was sorely mistaken. Brian Vaught is much wiser than I. He took one shot at it and left. But it was
wow.
I love it. It's everything that I want to see out of something new and something different. Like that is a legitimately hard target that is unique. You know, like it, like challenge. You know, I think stages challenge the prepared shooter. Like the prepared shooter has to respect that target, and it takes a great deal of. It's totally doable. It is absolutely doable with very simple execution of basic marksmanship, but it's hard.
Yeah,
and it was very hard at that distance to get to do. Like it was probably a bridge too far on that stage, but you move that thing into 100 yards, it's still hard, and it's something unique and challenging. So I think is by far the most creative target presentation for a rifle all year that I've ever seen.
Huh. All right.
So well, I thought it was really hard and hardly anybody got it, but I thought it was a really good idea, and I hope they keep that one for the future.
And it's simple.
And it's simple.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's not gimmicky. It's not, it's not going to fail. It
fits the hard as hell model as well.
But it fits the theme. And so I'm just giving them a big round of applause on that one. I was excited about that target, even though it went elbow deep in my bum. But
I don't think you could say that.
But
this would be a good time for me to let people know that they need to vote for net neutrality. Call your senator, call your congressperson, congress critter. Net neutrality, people. We don't want Adam not to be able to say they went elbow deep in his bum.
Right. Which I don't know what you think it means, but I know. Anyway, so pistol as hell. Picture all the things that give you pistol nightmares. They were all there in one stage.
Nice.
In succession, that had to be shot through a tire of random height that made you squat at some height you don't normally squat at. There was an Irish plate rack, a Death Star, a Polish plate rack, 4x10 knockdowns, and then that was 4. Yeah, and then you had to do all that while like playing with a stupid truck. You had to like the Toys for Tots. You had to carry this truck to each one of those and then put it in a bucket. Which I wish, again, like carrying that truck added nothing to that stage.
Right.
Then you had to run outside get up on this tower, shoot a bunch of 20, 30-yard steel challenge plates. So they're like you're huffing and puffing, shooting the long range pistol, or you have to respect the target's distance on the pistol. You had to unload it, slide down a slide, reload it, shoot a plate rack and some auto poppers at normal pistol distances, and then you had to run another 30 yards and do a rifle or a pistol spinner.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
In 180 seconds.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
I can't think of another. Would you say the farthest shot was?
It was like 30 yards. I mean, it was that, it's that pole barn building that they have by where we did the shoot off last year.
Yeah.
Where the prize table is.
Mm-hmm.
So they had all the doors open on the side on that, and that's where all the tires were. And you had to run outside, and then that bay in the back, that's where they had the thing that you had to stand up on and shoot the steel challenge plates with a slide. And then the pistol spinner was all the way in the back of that bay.
Yeah, so the only other thing would be like a C-zone target at 60 to 80 yards, and then that would be every pistol nightmare I've ever had.
That's pretty much the epitome of your pistol nightmare. People brought 5 magazines and ran out.
They should have literally called that pistol nightmare.
Well, they called it pistol as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was terrible. And like I said, I timed out on it with like 1 shot to go to spin the pistol spinner. But I like that the very first obstacle, the Irish plate rack through, and we just happened to be doing the time, by luck of the draw, the time that we ended up being there to shoot through it was our last stage of the day, and you're looking straight west. So that sun was straight in our eyes.
Nice.
And I spent probably half a magazine on that first Irish plate rack. So I burned a bunch of time there. And then all the way through, it just went downhill from there. But it was a hard stage. The carrying of the truck didn't add anything to it. I think they should just get rid of that kind of stuff because it was pistol as hell without that truck. But at the same time, that's kind of how they raise money for Toys for Tots and all that stuff. So I get it. But I think maybe if you want to do that kind of thing, make the truck a 30-second bonus or something like that.
Yeah, last year the donation on the clock was cool, but it didn't really take anything away from the stage. Yeah.
Yep. So that was kind of one of those gimmicky things that I kind of want to go away, but it was pistol as hell. It was a monster pistol stage that was not in any way flavored like a USPSA stage. It was an epic pistol stage.
Nice.
And then the shotgun run was pretty much everything you would think it would be in a 300-yard shotgun gully run. It started out with a buckshot spinner. And they kind of announced late in the game, well, everyone had plenty of time, but they announced that there was going to be some buckshot at the match. And they specifically said you couldn't use flight control buckshot, which I call BS on. It's like, why can't I use buckshot or flight control buckshot? Because that's the only buckshot I have. So I had to go out and buy some other buckshot that I'm not used to using, blah, blah, blah. Woe is me. Falling on deaf ears. But I think it was kind of stupid to put, if you're going to have buckshot, who cares if it's flight control or not flight control? And if you're going to call flight control, how are you enforcing it? Because what a lot of people don't know about flight control is that if you pull the shells out of the box, there's nothing on the shell that says flight control.
Correct.
So if I were a lower integrity individual, I could have used flight control, and nobody would have known. I know DJ and Sky weren't going down there and looking for flight control wads, and I know they weren't cutting shells apart. And so if some guy snuck through with flight control, I don't think he would have gotten caught. But anyway, it's it was kind of a...
As we've seen this year in 3-gun, there are several individuals that are not above pulling bullshit like that. So... It's a serious concern, right?
And I had them. I brought them with. At the last minute, I was just like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. But, like, you know, there's no reason. I don't think it added anything to the stage to restrict the use of that shell. And I don't think they would have caught somebody who was using that shell. They just took it on the honors. You know, they took it on the honor system. They're like, you can't use flight control. And I didn't, and it ultimately bit me. But I thought it was kind of stupid. But anyway, so you had to start with a buckshot spinner with no shoots on both sides of it. So most everybody was chickening out and shooting the top plate only. You could get away with shooting the bottom plate. A lot of people did. I tried to. Unfortunately, my point of impact was slightly to the left of where I anticipated it being, so I smoked the no-shoot. Not only did I smoke the no-shoot, I only got about 2 of those 9 pellets on the spinner, so I was just like playing patty cake with the thing, and it wasn't spinning. And so I ended up leaving it. But so I got the no-shoot and a failure to spin. Again, elbow deep. And then I proceeded to run the rest of the stage. The rest of the stage was awesome. They had the black sheep clays flipping up in the air. They had a bunch of knockover steel to do as you run around. You had to grab some slugs, which were loose in a box. They had to be loose, you had to retrieve them out of an ammo can. You could stage them in a box, which is what a lot of people did. They put a box, one of those 10-round cardboard boxes. Mm-hmm. You had to throw that in your pocket or your pouch or something like that, and then run up the hill, shoot some more birdshot. And once you got up to the top, that's when you shot your slugs. So I thought that was good. If you've seen kind of this trend lately, I don't know, have we talked about the whole RCI thing where he cuts the rib off the barrel now?
I don't think we've talked about it on the program, but I have personally seen it.
Well, his whole thing is that as your barrel heats up, your rib does not heat up, and eventually it starts to shift your point of impact.
Right.
I thought Mark had maybe had one too many cigarettes that hour. It was crazy. But in fact, that is the stage, in the stages of stages, where you do get your shotgun barrel hot enough that it is going to alter your point of impact on your slugs.
Yeah.
I've never seen Mirage off of my shotgun barrel before.
Huh.
But I did there. That was a don't touch this thing. It's pretty hot.
Well, so I don't doubt him on that at all from an actual physics standpoint and from
I don't either.
Heat totally transfer and everything. However, I do want to know if it depends on the shotgun. The reason I asked that is I had Jeff from Breda USA on the podcast. And their shotgun barrels are drilled like a rifle barrel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they put it in a lathe, and then they turn it down, turn the ID, turn the OD, and then later on someone, Mario is what he said his name was, actually silver solders the rib on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder...
He's the rib ninja.
Well, yeah, he's a rib ninja. So I don't know how other shotgun barrels are made. So I wonder if it's the same process, and then maybe I'm just kind of buying into the handcraftiness, or if that somehow makes that particular shotgun better at heat transfer now because it is machine gun barrel material versus whatever pipe that they're smashing into a barrel in large volume. And I'm not I'm not denigrating any other shotgun or anything, but I just don't imagine a $400 Stoger or a $400 Mossberg 930 has the same care given to the barrel. right?
Right.
And so that's kind of what I wonder. And then I wonder about the value of cutting those ribs off. But you shooting M2, you were seeing Mirage. Sounds like you had some problems with your slugs.
Yeah, my initial point of impact was high, and as soon as they told me I was shooting high, I held bottom plate and I hit them all.
Boom, coaching.
Yeah, so Nick Atkinson, case against coaching right there. Man, I would have maybe timed out if I wouldn't have gotten coaching. Anyway, so it was shotgun as hell. Huh?
Did you just prove his point then?
Probably. I don't know. I saw they were hitting high too. So.
Oh.
But anyway, I don't know. I was just poking.
Gotcha.
But it was shotgun as hell. So it was an epic shotgun stage. I was a little upset about the whole buckshot thing, but at the end of the day, it didn't go well for me. So it's gonna fall on deaf ears. But back to it. There were 3 single gun stages. I would rather see 10 multi-gun stages in the future. So as far as skills utilized on that, which is what I think we were talking about.
That is correct. Adam.
Yeah.
I need to pause and I need to pee because we've been doing this for 90 minutes.
Right on, bud.
Hang on a sec. Tell me about the farthest shot and number of long-range shots.
Number of long-range, I think, was down from last year a little bit. I think the farthest one was 460.
Which is down about 200 yards from last year.
Oh, yeah. They had that 6 Hondo last year. That was awesome. But it's about the same size. It was one of those, 18 by 24 steel challenge targets, and it was on a strobe. So it was totally doable. There were, on the Rifle as Hell stage, there were 4 flashers from 3 positions. And from the furthest back position, the furthest flasher was 309 yards.
Okay.
So they were all at pretty tame distances, but so you had to shoot them off of out of that little like pillbox machine gun nest thing, made out of timbers. They had a stack of like semi tires that you had to shoot off of, and then there was another like pillbox thing at the end that you had to shoot them off of. And then other than that, there was another stage where you had to shoot, and they were at like 250. 2 flashers at like 250.
Okay.
So that was pretty doable. And then I think there was another one where you had a couple pokes at that kind of like 200 yard range. But other than that, I would not say it was not as rifle intensive as it's been in the past. And some of what you would expect from them to whip out as far as long range stuff, I think that was a little tamer than it's been in the past.
Well, and that kind of fits into the theme of cutting down on stage times, right?
Yeah. So they were. I think they reined that in a little bit, but at the same time, on the flip side, there was one stage in particular, stage 9, that had a shotgun spinner in it. That was basically everyone decided was not worth the time to shoot it. Almost everyone ended up, nobody spun it, and almost everyone just decided from the onset to take the penalty, not even get their shotgun out and shoot at it, because the amount of time it would take you to climb up onto that rooftop prop, which was another 10, 15 yards beyond where you had to be for the rifle or where you had to run to. You had to get up on there. You had an empty shotgun. You had to load the shotgun, and then you had to shoot this spinner from a reverse rooftop, and for which you would only receive 70 seconds in penalties if you didn't even bother. So, like, just the raw time. I mean, you would spend 40 seconds just getting into position to attempt it.
Right.
So the juice just wasn't worth the squeeze. And I think a lot of people were like me. I was trying to do the math, and I'm like, man, if there's a way if you're saying there's a chance, I want to do it, but like every logical bone in my body just said no. There's no way you can do that and come out ahead, other than just being the boss of the match, being the only guy to spin it. That would have been awesome. But like, it's just the disaster factor was just too high.
Yeah.
And it was my last stage of the match, and it was like, I'm also kind of looking at it like I don't look at scores, so I have no idea where I'm standing. I have no idea who else is here shooting limited. I'm just like, knowing that I've already left 3 spinners, and it hasn't been going out so well for me on the spinners, even though like I've shot Iron Man enough times where I'm not scared of them. It's just like isn't working out. So I was like, man, if I could spin the spinner, that might be the thing that either puts me ahead or like cuts the other guy off at the knees. But you're just looking at it, and it's just like, no, there's just.
But dude, 40 seconds
just
to
no ways.
Yeah, 40 seconds to get into position. Then you have 30 to spin it. Like, I'm not one of those
Reiser
guys.
Did the math, and he was looking at it too. He paced it out, and he like air gunned it. And in his mind, from what I understand when we were talking after the match, he's like, best case scenario, perfect execution. It's 40 seconds of dinking around without even doing the shooting.
Yeah. So,
Latola and I had a good conversation about that in the last episode. I'm not good at doing that kind of stuff, and it's probably a skill I can work on. But in the meantime, I'll take a Latola or a Riser or a Kupika to tell me yes or no. Don't do that. and
you didn't even have to. Like you're just looking at the way this thing laid out. Like when not knowing what I was looking at going over there, I was like, oh yeah, if the shotgun's loaded in the back of the truck, I'm definitely going to try it. And then in the walkthrough, or you read the stage description, it's like, no, you got to get up on the roof that's 20 yards beyond the first rifle position, and you have to get up there with an empty shotgun, and you have to load it, and you have to abandon it up there, and you have to get off, and then you can start doing the rifle shenanigans that you need to do to finish the stage. I was like, man, you didn't even have to do the math. You're just like, there's no way.
Right.
There's just no way. And that was sad. So it's kind of like, it was again like the shenanigans of the stage, because you had to run a long way for that stage. Well, you remember where the spinner was last year, where you had to shoot off the roof in that 100-yard bay?
Yep.
That's where it was. And you started in a pistol bay that's in that first row of pistol bays along the edge of the range.
Oh, wow.
So you have like 100 or 200-yard run to get there. And before you started running, you had to shoot 16 pistol targets, steel pistol targets, strong hand only, while holding a riot shield. So you had to do that. Then you had to do this run, shoot the spinner if you were brave, and then shoot some rifle targets off. You had to use a folding chair, and your rifle had to be in contact with the folding chair from 4 different positions.
That ain't happening. That ain't happening.
Yeah. So it's like, the as hell got in the way of the hard on that stage, and it kind of turned it into a bummer of a stage. Everyone just I don't think anyone came away from that stage and be like, man, that was an awesome stage. It was kind of like, oh well, I got through it.
Yeah.
Took the penalty, and let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah, no kidding. Lame. That's the kind of bummer that I've been hearing about, is like there wasn't enough time to complete the stages, and that's it's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Let's move on. Logistics, check-in, scoring, prize table, etc.
Super easy on. They are practice scores, so all that stuff runs pretty good. You could tell Brian was, this is his first time doing some of the not fun stuff of running matches. So, logistically, like coming out with round counts and announcing things ahead of time. Definitely on the buckshot thing, they were enough in advance on that to let everybody know. But at the same time, it was kind of like an 11th hour thing. Like, oh hey, we decided. So some things came out. They did email out updates every day to update the schedule. We're going to talk about that later. Prize table went pretty smooth. They pretty much got out of there in a reasonable amount of time. Thanked everybody they needed to thank and gave out the trophies and got through. Didn't get to walk the prize table, look at it. Everybody kind of went in cold, which I know I'm not in charge of sponsorship at Vortex, but knowing how Ruben feels about that kind of thing and some of the other people I'm affiliated with, they're not super crazy about people not being able to see what's on the prize table because that's kind of where some of where the display of wares gets to happen.
Right.
But they were using that facility as part of the range for shooting up until it was all done. So I can see why it played out the way it did. But we got out of there in a reasonable amount of time. There were jokes, there was laughing, there was all that stuff. Logistically, what other kinds of things do we like to talk about in logistics?
Check-in scoring is pretty much it. Venue. Ease of access.
Venue's pretty awesome. It's right off the main drag, pretty much. You only have to turn off the paved road for maybe a mile or two, but it's right off of main drag, which is right off of interstate. And then St. George has a lot. St. George and then Hurricane, the smaller town that it's close to, they have a lot of amenities that make it really easy to get into. So lots of places to stay. We've verboed the last few years with rental houses, which has been a great time, especially if you're watching our cooking adventure on the Instagram story over the weekend. And then it's easily accessible for flying in too, because you're about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Vegas. You're I think about 3 hours, 4 hours from Salt Lake City. So it's easy to fly into, easy to access. All the amenities that you need. You have cell service while you're there, so that's unique to the venue.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely unique to the venue.
Yeah, you can gram whilst you shoot.
Let's see. Where are we at? Venue. Oh, pre-com. Let's talk about the pre-communication.
Okay. Pre-communication. They sent out a couple emails ahead of time. You knew the round count. Round count was pretty close. That's when they told us about the buckshot thing that we already talked about. What else came out in pre-com? They did end up bumping up the schedule, which is gonna lead us into the staff. But they basically after the first day, there were 7 squads that didn't get to finish the first day because they ran out of light.
It's about what it was at the Red October match too.
Yep. So they had an ambitious schedule. Didn't work out for them. It's late in the year, so they're definitely coming from behind on that kind of thing. Like as a match director, I feel for them because
there's not a lot of light in the day.
There is not a lot of light in the day. And so they have a really popular match. A lot of people want to shoot. They're trying to get a lot of people through. A lot of big monster stages. So going into Saturday, I don't know this for sure. I could just have been around enough matches and enough volunteers at matches to know that somewhere along the line, Friday night, Saturday morning, the staff was put on notice that, hey, we're running behind. You got to get these guys through. Don't put up with crap from anyone. Run them through as fast as you can because we got to get everybody through.
I've been at a couple 3 Gun Nation matches like that, and you're right. You can definitely feel that vibe from the staff. Yep.
So pre-com, we got an email on Friday night that said they were bumping up the schedule. So the first flight was supposed to, instead of 8, they were bumping it up 15 minutes. So instead of 8, first briefing was at 7:45, which was pretty much as when it's light enough to shoot. And then second flight, which is what I was on, was supposed to start at 09:15. So we roll in there. We're early. We got there at like 8:30. We're watching the other squad shoot. The other squad ahead of us, that's the Ackley's and AMU and the Marine Corps shooting team. So those guys are getting through. They're wrapping up about 8:45, 8:50. And so they come up to us and they say, all right, get your squad preloading shotguns and we're going to start the brief in 10 minutes. What? We're going to start the brief in 10 minutes. No, we're not scheduled to be here until 9:15. We're going to start the brief in 10 minutes.
And it was, what, 9:45 is that, or 8:45 is that you said?
It's 8:50.
8:50. You weren't supposed to be there for 9:15, so that, okay, 25 minutes. All right.
Yep. So
I've experienced this one as well.
Yep. All of our squad is not there yet. And we tell them that, I'm like, well, they better get here. Ooh. That's where you went wrong. Because we were told a specific time to be here, and we're not late. And to rush those guys through, that's taking away from competitive equity. Everyone gets a fair stage brief and a 5-minute walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's in the rules. Brian comes by on the four-wheeler. He's like, hey, man, they're saying, like, we have to start shooting, and you said that we're supposed to be here at 9:15, and that's not for a few minutes yet. Not everybody's here. He's like, well, I said it was a 09 start. No, he said 9:15. Well, there was an email. I opened up the email, and he's like, oh, well, I guess I did say 9:15. He went over and told those ROs that, well, yeah, they don't have to start until 9:15. So, but even in the process, like, there's just some people, when you tell them to hurry up, they start being hasty, but they're not going faster. So they were just, they were disorganized about it. But every squad, every stage that we shot that day, they were flirting with this customer service element of, all right, you need to get here and be here and do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and you guys got to be ready to go when we're going to get you through. And it's like, okay, I appreciate that, but A, we didn't pay $200 to be dictated to. B, we're here to compete, so you're going to give us our read-through, and you're going to give us a walkthrough. Otherwise, I'm going to call Brian again, because that's not fair. This is a competition. And so some of that was going on with the staff on Saturday. And, some of it was not their fault. They were short-staffed. There were stages where one guy was holding down a stage by himself for an RO. Ken Nelson held down the trench stage by himself. A gentleman whose name I don't know was holding down Pistol as Hell by himself. So they were short. They were doing the best they could. But, in this realm, we run into a lot of military law enforcement individuals who they aren't customer service oriented. They're just indoctrinated that you dictate to people.
Man, you know what? I never thought of that. Like, military and law enforcement prior service are not used to guys like me going no, you can't talk to me like that. They're just used to
no, they don't. I could tell this kindly old gentleman who's telling me what I will and will not do. Like, he doesn't know any better, and he hasn't known any better since 1975. But it's like, well, no. I'm standing there in a jersey representing a company, so I have to be careful about what I say. But I'm surrounded by people who paid to be here. They paid full price to get a fair shake. And it's like, especially on the shoot house, they get there, like they're running the shoot house through, and they're like, all right, your walkthrough is going to start when the last shooter from the last squad leaves the shoot house. That's when your 5 minutes begins. We're like, no, it's not. But that one we got overruled on. But they gathered everybody around. And again, it was like they find two guys from the next squad, and he dictates to us like, you will have everyone ready here, blah blah blah. And he just tells me all these things, and it's like, well, those guys aren't here. We're not scheduled to be here for another half hour. Like,
I've seen that particular move a lot as well, and like if you wanted me to be in charge of those dudes, you should have told those dudes I was in charge of them, so I could get their phone numbers. I could, get their wife's phone number. Maybe their wife can call them. Like,
and
I don't know these.
Slack.
Well, there definitely are squads of Slack, but like, from my personal perspective, like, I don't know those guys, and I can't do anything to do it. So you barking orders at me to get them here is not going to make me get them here any quicker, because I can't actually do it because I don't know them.
Right. And now I'm here because, I'm here. Those guys aren't here, and those guys are maybe ahead of me in shooting order. So if you start without them, now you've thrown off my game. Like, now, I've competitive equity wise, I got bumped up in the order. So like I say, some of this is just, these guys are volunteers. They have no training on anything like this. I mean, these aren't their customers. They're just trying to help. But at the same time, it's like, no, this is a match, and I understand that it's running behind and you have to keep up. But at the same time, they were dangerously flirting with starting to be unfair in how they were running the match, because they were trying to rush people through, and that's not okay.
No.
And so I could tell those conditions were there on Saturday. Sunday, it was all gone again. Everybody was relaxed again, and it was all caught up because everybody only had 3 stages left to shoot. We were going to do the prize table and go home. But as far, and on every other regard, the staff was awesome. I didn't really have any big issues. But on, there was an issue of trying to get people through. And in some instances, there were things where it's like, no, you're flirting with a competitive disadvantage here, and at the end of the day, this is a competition, So there were a couple times, where it's like, what did you say? Okay, can you call Brian, please?
Did you listen to episode number 162 with Heath Clevenger?
I have not yet. I have not.
It's a long one. Heath and I talked for like 2 hours, but I love this episode because, for me, I've never RO'd a major match. I've only ever helped out adjacent to the match, like side stages, various other things. But this gives like a really cool behind the scenes of, what the dynamic of like the match hierarchy and the match chain of command is like. And Adam, you're familiar with this because you've been on every single side of the match that there possibly could be. But if folks are listening to this and they're thinking, oh well, that's not cool. They should change that and everything, or whatever you're thinking. I would urge you to listen to number 162. That's 3gunshow.com/episode 162, and hear from an RO perspective, like what the demands are from like the match executive staff and everything, and realize that there's conflicting interests, right? There's the expediency of the match, there's competitive equity, there's getting everyone through, and there's getting everyone through with all the same holes that they started with, Like those often are competing goals, and it's on them to handle those goals as they see fit. And me personally, like, I don't deal with like really good pressure, you know, you can push and push and push on me, and eventually I'm gonna pop. You know? So I, hats off to the match staff for being as, as willing to help and as accommodating as they can be when keeping in the fact that, like, hey, we're a little bit behind. We need to get back on track, But from a competitor standpoint, you do need to be aware of what their responsibility is to you as far as, like we said, competitive equity kind of thing. And the people that were shooting that match on day one when there was no sort of time pressure, and the people that are shooting that match on day two when there is time pressure, need to have the same accommodations and being able to shoot the same match.
Yep. And that's like, I mean, for us, so it's like, it's a two-sided coin. Like if we're going to say, no, we're not here yet, we're going to start at our time, that's fine. But when it's time to be there, like, you have to be ready to go.
Yes. That's another good point, is when you have to be there, you have to be ready to go. Not you have to be there.
Yeah.
You have to be ready to go.
You have to be there, ready to go. And so, and they don't know us from Adam. I mean, they might know me or recognize my name for whatever reason, or various other
because it's Adam
people. Yeah, but at the same time, but like, as far as even when I'm an RO, like in a new squad, and that's why I can appreciate their position, because I'm the same way sometimes. When they roll up, I was like, give me your shit and let's go. Because I don't know you. I don't know if this is going to be a slacker squad or not. So you got to set the tone from the beginning. Because once you're behind, it's hard to get them to catch up. Whereas, if you run a tight ship from the beginning, it's much easier. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a give and take. Because like if you're going to insist on running on the schedule, they're going to like talk to you about the reset and everything. And it's like, well, if you don't want to get yelled at about reset, don't get behind on reset. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, we're fine on reset. Just leave us alone.
Right.
We'll take care of it. But they don't know you don't know them. So you have to get through a couple shooters before that gets established. But no, I mean, they're trying to get you through. They're tired. They're dehydrated. They're doing a lot of work for not a whole lot of compensation. But at the same time, as a competitor, you have to understand that that's who they are, and you have to understand there's an appropriate way. Like, I mean, so in that specific instance, they're trying to rush me through ahead of time, and I don't want to, because I'm a competitor here. I don't want to get a disadvantage. So like, no, I'm supposed to be here at a set time. Too bad we're starting early. The appropriate response to that is, could you call the match director, please? And, he's going to come and, he's going to roll up. He's going to be like, what's up? Because he's going fire to fire. So I'm like, hey, here's what this guy said. Here's what your email said. Here's what time it is. Okay. And he's either going to, he's going to do what he's going to do. But you as a competitor, that's your position. Is, well, this is what's fair. This is what you said. This is what the rules are. So like, if you're going to get rushed through and not get your 5-minute walkthrough, no, I get a 5-minute walkthrough, but you might only get a 5-minute walkthrough. You might not get a 7-minute walkthrough. You might not get to cheat in when someone else is shooting the stage. But, I mean, there's definite etiquette and boundaries there. As far as, definitely need to listen to that was episode 162. And then also probably that episode with Dylan and Corinne about etiquette.
Yes.
There's a lot of etiquette involved here. There's a right and a wrong way to handle that situation. I think I was in the right. I've developed that report. That's just how I've learned to deal with ROs, because I understand them and I understand how to get what I want from them. But within the confines of the rules, but there's definitely a wrong way to handle that too, and it's going to get you the wrong reaction. And match director is probably not going to sympathize with you if you handle that some of the wrong ways.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and for those curious, that one with Dylan and Corinne, Shooter's Etiquette is episode 147. And between those two episodes, I think it creates like a great dialogue and relationship between the RO and the shooter, and match staff and the shooter as well. And hopefully we can, find ways to work through those issues like you guys did without, being, dicks to each other, for lack of a better term.
Right. It's like, I know who you are. I get your angle. You know who I am. You know my angle. There's a process. Stick to the process, and nobody's feelings get hurt.
Yep. And it's totally objective, and you don't have to worry about, like you said, getting feelings hurt and being subjective. So, All right, buddy, let's get into the cool part. Tell me about the fun factor.
Fun factor is just these monster off-the-wall stages. Honestly, I think we should just have a trench warfare 3-gun. I think we should just have 10 stages of running around in trenches. That's actually a great idea, man. It's a really good idea. That stage 10 times and feel like I should pay more money to do it, because that's my favorite stage of the whole match. Is that trench.
Trench is great. It looks like they made really good use of it too, because you had to run back and forth multiple times.
Yeah, and it's just like, you're just bouncing off the walls, and you're in and you're out and you're up and you're down, and I thought it was kind of silly. We had to go back and forth a bunch of times, but at the end of the day, that's what it was. And I don't know, it's always really fun to run around in that trench. So they always come up with cool things on that. They had interesting target presentations the whole time. I mean, it's a shooting match. I went there. I traveled a long way, and I got my fill of shooting. I'll always take a little bit more. I mean, I think round count was like 150 rounds per gun or so, maybe up to 200. I'd like to see a solid 200, 250 rounds per gun to really be hard as hell. It's like, I watched that video of Travis Gibson, and he was shooting a lot, and that looks like a lot of awesome. They need to bring back that roller coaster. That they kind of outdid themselves. That thing looked amazing, didn't it? Yeah, but that's really the fun factor of this match. Other than it's just off the wall. Everyone understands what they're getting into. All the butterfly snowflakes don't show up because it's too hard. So, the real organic love of outlaw 3-gun people who want to shoot guns and go fast and roll around in the dirt and do all that stuff show up. So it's just a really good, camaraderie of people that show up to shoot these really big monster stages. And that's the fun factor of the match, which kind of rolls into some of what we do behind the scenes. Because 2 times out of 2 times that I've gone there, we've verboed with other Team Vortex shooters. So there's a whole other personal dynamic of fun factor that goes along with it too. We have plenty of after hours fun as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about that then. Funny things that happen at the match.
Funny things that happened at the match. Well, you wanted to talk about some, so I'm going to try and feel around to see if I can stumble into the thing you want to talk about.
Do you want to hear the DJ thing that you could not possibly have known?
Yeah.
So DJ was on the Shotgun is Hell stage, right?
Yep.
So there's he told me apparently there's a last shot that you take with birdshot, and then you're off and running up to the sniper's nest to shoot slugs at slug targets. Is that correct?
Yep.
And he said that you were moving through that stage so fast that he basically started running from the start and didn't stop until he got to that tower. He said that you were shooting and moving. I know. This is great compliments, right? He said that you were shooting and moving so fast that it was unreal. And once you hit that last bird target, you took off running so fast that you created a 12-inch tall cloud of dust. He could not see where to place his feet, and he was worried that he was going to trip and fall.
I'll have to Dropbox you. I think I have footage. I have both third person and first person footage of that stage. I'll have to send it to you. Maybe you can link it.
Yeah, hook it up. We'll definitely do some linkage.
That was funny. Yeah. Yeah, no, I was just because that's my stage. Like if I'm gonna, especially if you start 60 seconds in the hole because you shot yourself in the foot on a spinner, like man, I'm gonna run that 60 seconds off. So I mean, I think I was 2 seconds off being the stage win for that one raw time. So yeah, no, I mean I like the big run and gun shotgun stages.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because I load weak hand, so I don't get burned like all the strong hand guys do.
Yeah,
on the barrel. But that kind of leads into, you'll remember last year, they were talking about some really kind of long slug shots, right? And so,
yeah. What was it last year? It was over 100 yards. What was it? God, what was
it? I can't even remember.
I can't even either.
They're fun.
It was I remember it was like a full size bear, and it was still too far for me to actually hit.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
it was
a big bear up on the hill.
What, folks? So when I say full size
cutout of a bear,
when I say full size bear, I mean a full size bear. And
yeah, grizzly, not black.
And it's walking, it's not standing. But
right,
I remember I held a dot over the bear and still hit the dirt.
Yeah.
Screw that bear. That's how far it was.
But that went out in pre-com, right? That was going to happen. So,
we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, so Sean Burrows and Andy Peterson went out into the desert, and they came up with this game called Slug.
Yes.
They played Slug. They put it out on Facebook. It's basically like the schoolyard basketball game. Yeah, horse or pig, right? So
right.
Every time you call a shot, you hit a shot, your buddy doesn't hit it, he gets a letter. I saw it, and it was just funny. They're just goofy. And it was
funny how much Andy was trying to cheat in that game.
What?
Do you remember that?
No.
And he was like, "Oh, I guess you hit that."
Oh yeah. Well, apparently they were very dehydrated at that point, so they were kind of getting loopy.
Oh, I thought it was like super competitive.
No, they'd been like shooting other stuff for a long time. Like, oh yeah, we were going to do that thing for content. So they did it, and it was just kind of absurd because it was cool because they're just shooting at rocks out in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of a thing we can't do here because like there's people around, so like yeah, they just go out into the BLM and they're like, oh, there's rock over there, okay, ka-chow! Oh yeah, you hit it, all right. Well, which rock are you talking about? And they get out their rifle and like they shoot the rock. Okay, I see it now. I'm going to shoot that one too. And so it was fun. And that's why I was messaging them like, dude, that looks awesome. How come you guys didn't invite me? Like, we should do this sometime. Yeah, we totally should. And we were going to do it in Texas, actually. I got special permission from Jeremy Moore to do it in Texas.
I heard about that.
It just didn't work out. For whatever reason,
we
didn't end up going out and doing it. But this time, the way the flights worked out and everything, Sean was like, "You should fly in on Wednesday, and we'll go out and do it." I was like, "Sweet!" So I bought a bunch of extra slugs, have drop shipped out there, and we go out into the desert, and out in the BLM land, we go to the same place, and the sun's going down. Like, I flew in the afternoon. It's December. The sun's going down fast. So, like, we have this little window of time to do it. And we get out there. We start lasing some rocks. We set up the cameras and whatnot. And the first thing I wanted to do, because you said it was stupid, I wanted to shoot a rock that was 300 yards away with a slug.
It is stupid.
I know. So I was like, "This one's for you, Hartman." And I was like, and I just straight up Rocket Man launched it into space, and we hit this big rocket 300 yards.
Yes,
way up on
you
the
held your buttstock at your hip and the front sight at your eyes, and launched a slug mortar style into a rock.
Well, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because I did that too. So we took a couple long shots, and then like, all right, well, maybe we should use like a more practical shot. So we did some that were closer, and there's like, oh, well, there's a big one over there at 150. We shot that one, and Sean had a spinner and stuff too. So we were doing like trying to do a spinner in 3 shots and stuff like that. And then I tried to shoot one behind my back. That didn't work out. But we had a like a shoot steel torso target at 30 yards. And I was like, all right, well, my behind the back look at the Irish shot didn't work, so we are going to shoot one from the hip. So from the hip, 30 yards, and I like missed it by 2 inches. And then Sean shot it, and he was pretty close too. And we're like, oh man, got to try it again. So I tried it again, and I was really close again. I was like, damn it. And Sean was really close. And we're like, all right, you know what? We're just going to go sudden death shot. Because at that point, Sean had an SLU. So, like, we're just going sudden death until one of us hits this thing. And it just kept getting closer and closer. And he was trying to be scientific about it. Like, he would, like, kneel down and line his sights up and then try to stand up without moving his shotgun.
What?
Yeah. Me, I just did it Kentucky style. I just kind of, like, licked my front sight blade and held it from the hip, and it was like, and on the 5th try, I did get it, and I was so happy that I got it. I just went nuts. I just like spiked the mic and like I'm out, because I just did a 30-yard slug shot from the hip. So
nice.
See ya. So we went out and played slug before we went down there. So we had the Galactic Slug Championship of the universe. And then we got to the point where it was kind of like, ooh, maybe, I mean, I bought 50 slugs and I kind of only have like 20 left. We should probably like save some for the match because we still have to go shoot hard as hell.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, and then the other thing, I know this episode has gone on way too long, but also contenting, everyone knows at this point I work at Vortex Optics. And one of the things that they do over in social media is they do the pizza oven cook-offs.
Yeah, buddy.
Which Vortex is a family-owned business.
Hang on, right? Instagram, right? This is on Instagram. Yep. This is on the Instagram story. If you're not following Vortex and watching their Instagram story on the daily, you are missing out on the cool shit that they cook in their pizza oven. It is amazing.
Right. And if you're not following Vortex 3-Gun, you're missing out on half the shenanigans we do when we go out on the road.
Yes.
It's pretty much just me and Ruben being goofy. So Sean gets this idea with Jimmy. Oh, so it's a family-owned company, right? So it's a father and 4 sons. And so they're sitting around the meeting one day, like a long time ago, and Jimmy like proposes this. And his brother, who's the head of sales, is just like, I don't know, Jim. I don't know. I mean, you're really good at this, but this is weird. And he's like, no, you have to trust me. That's when he started doing it, and this pizza oven thing just blew up. Just blew. It's 10 times bigger than they ever thought it would be.
Yeah, it's huge.
And now we got like other companies in the industry like challenging each other, going back and forth. Anyway, so Sean decides, he gets a hold of Jimmy and says, hey, we should do a cook-off between you and Vortex 3-Gun. And Jimmy's like, yeah, all right. And so they queued it up, and basically it was going to be like a make this dish, So Jimmy was going to make one, and then we were going to respond. And Sean tells me this, like, well, he told me we were going to do it. But like we went out to dinner like after the match on Friday night. Was it Friday night? Yeah. And then so we go out there, and he's like, "All right, we go to dinner." He's like, "We got to stop at Walmart on the way back and get groceries for the pizza oven cook-off thing." Oh, okay. And so we start doing the story. just going around. Like, if you ever wanted an idea of how to make grocery shopping fun, just go ahead and start Instagram storying it, and you'll entertain yourself. Pretty much just start just rapid firing Instagram stories at Sean grocery shopping. And he's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. And I'm like, I don't think you fully understand what you've gotten yourself into, but I'm going to get it all on Instagram. And so we proceed to goof around in the grocery store. And then we're walking out, and it's like, okay, so we're going to do this tomorrow, right? And we like for dinner? He's like, no, we're doing it tonight. I'm like, dude, like, I want to go to bed. We just ate a bunch of food. Like, why are we gonna cook tonight? We're not hungry now. Oh, we have to do it tonight. All right, whatever. Then Tarrant gets involved in making this thing. 3 hours later, we've thrown tortillas all over the Verbo. We've eaten all the cheese, and we've made this like huge concoction of some sort of chicken and waffle, or what do you call it? Chicken quesadilla crisper, or some crisp wrap, or some shit. I mean, it was tortillas, cheese, fried chicken, cut up mozzarella sticks, and then it slathered a whole bunch of mac and cheese on the top.
Jesus.
It was a monster.
Sounds terrible.
We were cooking. We were cleaning pistols in the sink. We were baking MP5s in the oven. Our Instagram story was like I don't know. It was probably like an hour long of Instagram story spots, but it was hilarious. At least for us to make. Some people watched it and they said it was funny too, but I don't know. I think people just think we're crazy now. I'm not entirely sure if I have a job tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, so tell me about breakfast then.
Breakfast?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of...
You know where I'm leading with this one.
So when I get there, we're going out to play Slug, right? And Sean's like, oh, man, have you ever been to a Maverick? And I was like, well, I met some guys to go ride motocross at a Maverick one time, and I never went inside. Why? And he's like, oh, man, they're awesome, blah, blah, blah. This is the greatest gas station ever, blah, 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 this and that and the other thing. And he's like, yeah, man, it's Adventure's first stop. That's their logo, or their slogan, is you go, and I was like, oh, well, that's kind of neat, and he's like, they got these burritos in there. It's called the Moab. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, man, it's the best burrito ever in the whole world. I'm like, well, I've heard that before. I'll be the judge of that.
Is it the mother of all burritos?
Yes, it is the mother of all breakfast burritos. It's got all of the everything in it. It's got the potatoes, it's got the eggs, it's got the ham, it's got the sausage, it's got the bacon, and if there's some cheese in it too. So it's just awesome. And I was thinking, so every morning we would go, it's like, it's Adventure's first stop. We got to go. And so we start getting going, or someone's dragging the feet, like, hey, man, it's Adventure's first stop. We got to go to the Maverick. And so we stop in for the Maverick, and, of course, I buy two and some energy drinks. And that's what I had in the morning. And it just kind of turned into this thing, Adventure's first stop, Adventure's first stop.
Dude, in your story, I couldn't figure out what you were saying. I heard something, but stop. I was like, I have no clue.
I don't know. I don't know what was going on.
Well,
I was trying to be weird.
I needed a translator, and it's Adventure's first stop is what it is.
It is Adventure's first stop.
Yes.
But I was trying to sound like a crazed person.
Mission accomplished, but I just missed it.
Yeah. So on the last day, Sean's like trying to make this montage of Adventure's first stop, like getting into the car. We're like, yeah, we got to go to Adventure's first stop. Then we're driving. Oh, we're going to Adventure's first stop. Oh, hey, we're here. And then he does like the boomerang of me like dancing or like jumping up and down in front of the door, which is my favorite part.
Which was hilarious.
Yeah. And then we get in there. It's Sunday in Utah.
By the way, Sunday in Utah, there's no Hardee's, there's no Dairy Queen, there's no Blimpies.
Nope.
Nothing.
Nope. nope, they're all reading the Book of Mormon over in the temple, all right?
Yeah, it's the day of the Lord, man.
Yeah, so I go into the Maverick at 6:45 on a Sunday morning after we've made this huge story. There are no burritos.
Ah.
0. I'm like, what is this bullshit? There's no freaking burritos.
Sad Adam.
Yep. And so then I immediately flashed to that ultimate one-liner from They Live, where that guy goes into the bank. It's like, I'm here to eat burritos and kick ass, and I'm all out of burritos. And so that was the end of our story. Well, the first stage that day, you had to knock this thing over with a sequence flag and run up on this deck and then shoot a bunch of stuff with your rifle. And so I do that, and Sean's kind of he's still doing the shtick of it, Adventure's First Stop. I'm running. I go up on the deck, and I plant the flag, and I hear stop. And so I just look at the RO like we're looking face to face. I haven't even fired a shot yet. He's holding the clock like, what are you doing? You should shoot now. I'm like, no, someone said stop. He's like, what? Like, someone said stop. I heard stop. And then Terrence in the back, he's like, yeah, someone said stop, blah, blah, blah. And they both kind of look at each other like, well, yeah, I guess someone said stop. And, of course, I am not in a humorous mood, so I'm like, who the F did that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sons of bitches, and it's probably those trooper guys who aren't supposed to be here until 10 o'clock. They're standing in the back, And it turns out it was Sean. He's filming, on a phone, and he's saying, oh, here we go, Adventure's First Stop. He's trying to continue the thing, and all I heard out of that was stop. I just heard the magic word, and it was like, pew.
Well, and this was the thing where the first thing you do, knocking over that popper, was some sort of activation for multiple different targets, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's like a Rube Goldberg. It, triggers, 3 things. So you knock the popper over, and that, pulls the stop away from the bowling ball, and the bowling ball rolls down the trough, which buys you the time to run up on the deck, and then it triggers 2 swingers and a clamshell.
Dude. So all that was triggered, and then they had to reset all that because of Adventure's First Stop.
Yep. They sure did.
So, everybody, take note. The Instagram story can go too long.
Yeah. Instagram gets out of hand sometimes. But I was really glad because I was like, they said stop, man. And another time, another place, they could have said, this is hard as hell. We didn't say stop. You got to keep going. And then I would have called Brian again. We would have reviewed the video and all that stuff. But no, they were cool about it.
Yeah, you got lucky there.
Yeah, but it's just like, nope, someone said stop. And there are 2 words that you can't take back in 3-gun. One of them's stop and one of them's hit. So it doesn't matter who said it, but once it's out there, anybody, and it's true, and it should be that way, but at the same time, people in the peanut gallery, they can't be saying stop, because stop means stop.
That happened to me one time at a local USPSA match in Colorado, back home, my club range from where I used to work, and there was a dude telling the story about being at a public range and shooting, and a lady lost her target, started blowing in the wind, and she goes under the bench to go snag it. And I don't know if it was him or the RO, but the story was they were just telling her, stop! And I was shooting at the time, and I just stopped, and the RO was like, keep going. I'm like, no. Go to hell. I'm reshooting this. So someone else said stop. I just stopped for 3 seconds,
Yep. That is the magic word. There is no gray area.
Yeah.
When, and it should be that way because, somebody sees something that the RO doesn't see.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
If you get malicious with it and try to cheat, say stop because someone's having a bad run, well, that's unsportsmanlike conduct, and there's a process for that too.
Yeah,
but no, man.
There's also public shaming for that.
Yeah, but there's that is there for a reason.
Yes,
Stop, that is the big red shutdown button if something is not correct.
It's very important.
It's very important. So.
Now, all right, so Sean, shut your damn mouth when Adam's shooting. I think we learned a lesson here.
Yes.
Also, I learned not to take any phone calls at all on the Monday after a match when we're going to do a match recon because a couple things are blown for me. But Adam, I think this was an exceptional match recon of the 2017 Hard as Hell Multigun. You know what, man?
It's a big match. It's a big recon.
I gotta say, dude, like of all the matches I didn't shoot this year, like FOMO was super high of this one here. A lot of it was because so many of the people that I've shot with and come to know and love across the country were at this match, and this is a very unique match in the Western United States that can actually draw that number of people, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I said it's currently my favorite match of the year. It's the closest thing to perfection that, in my opinion, that's going. I hope for next year they cut back on a few of the gimmicky things and maybe give us a few more of the target things. And I can't wait. 12 months until next year.
Well, so we have a opportunity to shoot Hard as Hell 2-gun sometime throughout the year. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I like the shotgun, so it kind of bums me out. But at the same time, it's like, man, if this is my favorite match and there's another kind of similar match, it's like, maybe. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to think about it. We're actually we're going to sit down here and figure out between those of us at Vortex that travel around to matches, which ones we all want to go to and logistically how much of it's possible and how much of it needs to be self-funded.
Yeah.
But
well, we should chat about that because there's a lot of matches that I'm going to be shooting this year that I haven't shot before, and there's going to be a lot of matches that I am shooting this year that I have shot before, and I got to figure out like a happy medium in between. And would love to do one of these match recons live, like right after we get done with all the goodbyes and everything for all the rest of the people. So let's make that happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, Adam, dude, always appreciate your perspective. Always appreciate how animated it and how much thought and emotion you put into your match recons. Thank you so much for being special field correspondent Adam Maxwell and for being you on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dave, and thanks for all the listeners who listen to me ramble about stuff that apparently they feel is relevant, but I don't know. It's just me being me. So, if you've been listening for, what is it, 2 hours now?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, go have a beverage and do some light stretching because that was an ordeal, but we made it. This is the end.
That's right. And before you take off to do those stretches or grab that beverage, check out the show notes at 3gunshow.com for links to things that Adam and I discussed in the podcast. You can also sign up on Patreon as a 3 Gun Show to supporter and you'll get these real time. And if you're listening real time, again, we appreciate you. You're the 1%. You're the badasses. Right now,
nobody has bought the level that makes us dance yet, though.
It's true. Interpretive dance, no less. Right. Yeah. Right now, Adam, you can also purchase your very own Born to 3 Gun t-shirt.
In what color?
Heavy metal.
Good. That's the one I voted for.
The people have chosen heavy metal, and it seems to be working out for the dudes. For the ladies, seems to kind of fit a little weird, which is all right because whenever this comes out, the ladies will be sold out, and we will never speak of this again. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Armalite. Armalite has allowed me to get special pricing for listeners on their line of 3-gun rifles, both the 13.5, which I shoot, and the 18-inch, as well as their competition handguards, gas blocks, and tunable muzzle brakes. If you're in the market for a rifle or components to build your own, just email me, dave@3gunshow.com, and I'll hook you up. And anytime you see me on the range, you can check out my rifle. I'm currently rocking, like I said, that shorty, the 13.5-inch, with the Vortex Viper PST 1-6 that Adam and I were talking about on it. And a quick reminder, if you enjoy this podcast, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcast content, so you will always get the very latest. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman for Adam Maxwell, and we'll see you on the range.
Bye.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.